A popular sexy girl from our protagonist's school fell right into the gutter. How embarrassing. She was filthy, not wanting eyes on her. Her elegant ways of sticking her foot in was mesmerizing. She didn't do it on purpose. She started bending down angrily because she had work soon, and her state was a sewer rat. He asked when it started. Her job started at 5, and it was about half an hour. Therefore, he suggested she go home, but she was a whole hour away from her house. She was on the floor for some strange reason, and he allowed her to come to his humble place to take a nice shower. "Huh?" she said. She sat behind our boy, and never spoke a word to each other. She is known as a celebrity because of her beauty. A loner and her were from different worlds practically. He paced around his place, not predicting she would say yes. She was happily ready to accept his request. Her name was Shino, and he could only imagine what a beautiful girl like her would do in the shower. He was embarrassed because of his thoughts, and she said it was a great shower. She was super thankful of how he lent her clothes. Not only that, he gave her a paper bag for her dirty clothes. Her eyes glimmered because of the plan he gave her. Then he pointed to the door, telling her to leave. She then realized something, and her mood turned grumpy. She asked why he was being cold, and she knew the answer was because he was scared of what his parents were going to say. She teased him, saying his parents were soon to be home, and he wanted her out. Her tease failed because his parents worked overseas and he lived alone. She was sulking but had a brilliant idea. Maybe he had naughty magazines all over the place. She started searching and he wanted her to stop, and she knew that he had the secret magazines hidden. He screamed that she wouldn't find anything like that, but she started to moo for some reason. She said cows were adorable and started to such arousing movements that not only I was shocked, our boy was too. She was at the door and left. Meanwhile, he sat by the door blocking it. He was wondering why she was just snooping around, and from now on they won't be talking to each other. Well, that narrator was just wrong. He prayed that someone wouldn't ever dare to look around in his house and had to ditch his nice books. Unfortunately, he had to enjoy them on his computer now. At school, Fujiwara was given back his clothes by Shino, and she had sweets made from work. She was super grateful for allowing her to use his shower. He started to not be happy because of this revelation. Shower? Everyone thought. Misconceptions were spreading. His bad feelings were turning real. More gossip was spreading, and this was bad. Really bad. He's standing out in the worst possible way. After school, he was known as the guy everyone was talking about. He just wanted a normal life. This nightmare was hurting him. He was holding the bag Yuizaki gave to him. He opened it and a note slip flew out the bag. Her contact info was listed, and his thoughts took over. He wouldn't fall for that stupid trap and would hit the books until an anime starts later. A loner like him would be goofing if had friends. He realized she gave sweets and thought the sweets were booby-trapped. He sniffed them and instantly knew they were regular. How delicious it was. Tomorrow at school, the fame started for him hard. People were gossiping about him, and he didn't enjoy this situation. Just like me, he just wanted to go home away from school. While in class, the teacher was teaching, but bro was trembling. Oh, it was just someone poking their pen against his back. He was just wondering what Yuizaki was doing. She was confused as to why he wasn't answering her. No matter how much she poked, he thought she would eventually stop, and the teacher didn't care at all. He was free from her, and he felt the gazes on him. He was about to pass a corner with his food, and he was startled. Yuizaki told her friends that she borrowed his clothes and shower. She wasn't into him, but he was just a kind person. She told the truth of what happened in detail. Essentially, she thought he wouldn't have any ulterior motives and was not a pervert. Now they do lots of talking about dating and other stuff. Oh? Our boy was caught by somebody asking what he was doing. Maybe Yuizaki wasn't a cruel person after all. Oh, after class she was poking him again. The next day was the same. Oh, after that day the same. He turned around, confronting her, but she was fully blushing. He asked about her face, but she was waiting for something. She turned away, pouting, and she talked about a note. From that moment, the stares stopped and the poking. He had a weird feeling in his chest after that occurrence. He put his fist loud and proud, saying he will pretend he was blinded. A typhoon was rapidly approaching, and he was holding his mug, wondering when it started raining heavily. He didn't have any delivery ready for him, and he thought it was a New Age religion recruit group. Well, he did have to answer it, and a mean guy like him getting visitors put him on edge. Yuzaki was all drenched. He grabbed a towel and opened the door. She was sorry for showing up so late. She was heading home, but the trains crashed. Therefore, she came here asking to stay. He handed her a nice soft towel. The big bird decided to get her bath ready, and she said, "Really?" He introduced her to the bath and handed her such nice clothes. Afterwards, he pushed her straight to the bath. Slamming the door afterwards, he sighed. She opened it and started to criticize him about gaining popularity. He didn't live to be popular. A sweet side Fujiwara was emitting, and she said he would never do weird stuff. This makes her curious about him. A cute little interaction occurs between these two individuals. He didn't know what was up with her and turned around to see a shadow of her. He was nervous because this could turn into a lucky pervert situation. But this only happens in fiction, right? He was thinking about how standoffish she was and only started talking to him the moment he offered his shower to her. Drinking his nice coffee, the rain has gotten heavier, and he was thankful for making it back home. Yuizaki was taking forever in the bath. She comes out wiping herself, and the moment he sees the moment, his blood rushes. He was looking at each detail of her body, from top to bottom, until she sat right next to him. He asked why she was there for a while. She didn't think it was long, but he was done in 10 minutes. She was shocked that maybe it was a guy thing to be quick. He had something to ask, and she was glimmering with enjoyment. The question was, if it took her an hour to get to her house, was it really okay for her to stay? She told her parents she was at her girlfriend's place. This hit him hard, maybe too hard. She never lied until now, and such interesting replies were given from Fujiwara. He asked why she didn't think of going to somebody else's place. He bet that she could have gone to anyone else's. Dropping out of nowhere would be rude, and it was fine to go to his place. His place happened to be the first to pop in his mind. No point in worrying now, and had envy that Yuizaki was able to act on her thoughts. She gets embarrassed when complimented, but he didn't mean for it to be one. What was her plan with the uniforms? Because she won't be drying it out from external places. She would have to wash it herself and asked for cleaning supplies. His mind was blown away just thinking of this. She asked if he ever spotted the warning tag on his uniform. She enlightened him that because of the wash symbol doesn't mean you can use a washing machine. He was blinded and thought she was a gyaru that knew all of this, a stereotype that doesn't follow her. He apologized, and a winner like her won whatever competition they were doing. She understood his sayings and told him to look at the nails to tell if they're a true gyaru. Her nails were pretty normal, but those are some wet hands anyways. He didn't say no connection. She asked if he has ever seen girls with flashy nails. Nails might be pretty, but are terrible for housework. She wasn't rich and had to help out with her sister. Do chores too. She works at a cafe, and long nails wouldn't land her that job. His perspective of her changed. She was now someone that had her act together with him. Talking to Fujiwara was fun for her, and his heart started to pump more blood than usual. Yuizaki just wanted a normal chat, but he was just pushing her away. She was shaking her hands and asked if something was wrong because of his face. Nothing was wrong, but he decided to help her do the laundry, and she was staggered. He was about to reach the bucket, but she used the force to tell him she had it herself. He asked if she disliked him, but instead it was her underwear. He didn't hear this. She yelled that she was also washing her underwear. A bomb exploded through his head. Now he was thinking about what he saw in that water, maybe her underwear. When she arrived, she was wet, and that must mean her underwear was wet too. He didn't realize, and decided to wait elsewhere. She had mild embarrassment on her face and decided to walk somewhere. He asked if the laundry was done, but she was sorry for not asking to use his dryer. She never had a dryer. It must be expensive, but he wouldn't know because when he moved there, they already had a dryer already. She looked at his uniform and was going to mention something. Sweat was taking over because of his thought of, I don't even know what that is. How awkward it was, because she was just sitting, and he was embarrassed. It was boring. Therefore, she asked if any games were available. He went to the backs of his closets and found old game consoles he used to play with his friends, alerting her to tell her he found a game that made her happy. I guess it's funny when a game is old. During game time, she started to grumble because of an item that allowed Fujiwara to steal. Was he ever supposed to use that item? Her response was no. She was right now in the lead, but unfortunately our boy was losing to an NPC. A comeback would be tough for him unless an item that allows you to swap player positions came to his position. She didn't believe he would use that cheating of an item. Luckily, he didn't care about winning or losing because of how mature he was. But it would be a waste to not do so, so he got her position. She was hitting our boy, upset that he said he wouldn't use it, and he never said that he would not use it. She was very upset, calling him an idiot, and then disaster struck. They both froze in fear, realizing a power outage had occurred. She used the flash for some light and asked if the power will come back, while probably won't until the typhoon leaves. She pouted because they were in the middle of the game. It was time for them to call it night, and it couldn't be helped. Now for the question of the day is, where would she be sleeping? He cleared all his erotic stuff from his bedroom, therefore he lent it to her. How kind of him. But now he had to sleep on the sofa. He didn't have any futons in other rooms, and his parents' room is used practically as storage. He wasn't cruel enough to let a girl sleep on the sofa and didn't need his concerns. He didn't want to seem like the bad guy and wanted her to have a sweet rest. She giggled at his comments. She wasn't trying to be considerate, or else she would not have showed up, and he realized it was a valid point. She still thanked him for such a welcome. Things he said made her feel more finer. She asked where his room was, and he said, "Over there," while it was pitch black. She turned on the light on her phone as their only source of light. She squeezed his hand with such love, asking to take her there. The feeling of a woman wasn't natural for him, so he was bewildered. His hands were cold, making her say, "Cold hands, warm heart," and the feeling of a woman was starting to overwhelm him. It wasn't a superstition, and she asked if she was kind at all. She was kind, at least to our main character. She assumed it was sweet talking, but that wasn't the reason he said it. Even though he was distant, she kept treating him normally. That is why he was thankful. He claimed that she might be the kindest woman in the world. She was clinging onto his hand, and he told her to watch her step. Her hand was trembling, and he teased her about this, and she was startled, saying she wasn't trembling at all. He pointed to the bed, and she slammed the door straight in his face. He felt something was strange while inside the room. Strange noises were made. The noise got louder, and so caught his attention. He rushed in, asking what was happening inside. She was just shaking inside the blanket, looking flustered. He tried to get her attention, but no response. Because there was no problem, he left. She was left in the room looking like she caught some feelings. She hit him with a ladle, and his forehead was in a crisis. He was finally awake, and he asked if she was hitting him with that the whole time. His sense of smell was still alive, being able to see such delicious food. She made breakfast, and he didn't know how the food spawned in, but she went grocery shopping to make him it. The typhoon was over, and this was repayment for him letting her stay. She asked why he was withdrawing his wallet. She did buy the ingredients, but it wasn't even that much, being 1,000 yen. She was embarrassed, just wanting a thank you. "Thanks," he said. She was happy to receive such a compliment. She was like his mother, and he thanked her for the meal. In the morning, it was her first time going to school with a boy and vice versa. She started skipping forward, calling his name and bringing out a piece of paper. She was going to touch his nipple. Oh, never mind, she slipped the paper in his pocket. It was her contact information that may look a little messy. She slipped it in with the clothes she gave back last time, but maybe he lost it. She was ready to accept a response from him. He was mesmerized by her looks, I would assume. Fujiwara's face was turning all red, and she was all close up inspecting. He yelled it was just her imagination, but was it really? From someone else's perspective, it would seem like they're a couple. From the background, two girls knew something. Since they were all lovey-dovey in the morning, they had to be dating. It was an assumption Yuizaki was brainwashed, and she felt like more eyes were on her for some reason. She wondered why, but our boy knew why. Therefore, he said they should distance themselves at school. He told her to just hang out with her girls like usual, and this cold attitude of his made her a little mad. They can talk outside of school, and he would promise a message. Sparkles started to surround her. She would remember this, and hope he would keep his promise.